the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AVWeek, episode 163, recorded Friday, October 3rd, 2014. No, not yet.
Ready.
AVWeek.
Performing scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AVWeek. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I don't know why I'm here, except they keep letting me come back. So, I'm your host for today's episode. With us, the incomparable left side of my brain, Mr. George Tucker, engineering coordinator for World Stage. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you, sir. Good to be on again.
And for those who are just listening to the podcast, and if you are, thank you. If you're watching, you'll notice that George's lower third has some sort of revolutionary hero with two guns for some reason. Who is that?
That is Adamant. Stand and deliver.
Ah, very nice. Very well done. Did you, by the way, did you guys, never mind, I'm not going to go, I was going to say that they were making an Ant Marvel movie, but that totally left field. So, all right, also with us is Bill Brown from BD Brown Communications. How are you, sir?
I am doing great, sir. How are you?
I am well. Good to have you back on. And last but not least, the newest member. He's not the youngest member. I would like to point that out. He's the same age as I am. But the newest member of the AVNation family, Mr. Chris Neto. What?
Rock on, man.
How are you?
Got me under the weather, but I'm going to try to get through this.
Hey, you know what? We're all drug-induced in some way, shape, or form. I've got Mountain Dew right now, so that's my drug of choice today. So
excellent.
We'll talk about what exactly I meant there, and Red Band and AVNation and a bunch of other really cool things this week. But first, and this is not really a story, just to kind of say, hey, this is kind of something cool. Last couple of years, probably 10 years now. Infocom International has done something where every October they've taken 7 days a week and said, you know what, let's celebrate the industry, right? They called it AV Week, and oddly enough, that's the name of our podcast. Seriously, it's not oddly enough. That's exactly where I got the name from. Was their celebration was of AV Week. So I'm not kidding, Bill. Seriously, that's where I got it from. And so I think they got a little ticked off at me and said, you know what, screw you guys. We're going to call it AV Month. No, not really. They like us. But seriously, they're celebrating the entire month of October. So celebrate AV Month. Do something the 31 days of October. Maybe on Halloween you can dress up as a series System 7 switcher or something. So, but keep
Console TV.
Yeah, a console TV. You know what? A CRT would be very nice as a Halloween outfit.
Some paper mache and some aluminum foil. You'll be right.
Little macrame, But yeah, seriously, take a look. If you're on social, look at Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. A lot of companies do a lot of really neat things. My favorite, honestly, the last couple of years has been Listen Technologies and Corey Schaefer. They do some really, really cool things with AV Week. The Wave Group does some really cool things. Obviously, Infocom does some really cool things. So just check them out if you would, please. So, alrighty. We have not really had a regular show where we've been able to talk about some things over the last month with some of our travels and some things that we've covered. So let's kick something off that we have not had a chance really to delve into, and that's Crestron Pyng. If you're not familiar with what Pyng is, they started teasing this back in July and August on their social and their marketing. One of the campaigns they showed people throwing away their laptops. And for those of you who are not in the programming side of AV, 9 times out of 10, honestly, that's what you're working with, right? Because it's a lot easier to program it on a laptop than take it to the site and load it up. And the idea was that you got rid of your laptop, right, to configure this system. So at CEDIA in Denver this year, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, they unleashed Pyng on us. Really cool little configuration software. It really was. It's an app-based system. It is geared towards the home market. However, I'm going to throw a curveball at the three of you. The more I think about Pyng, the more I think that they could actually take this and kind of one little tweak here, and they could also hit the K-12 market pretty heavily because of the simplicity of it and because of everything. George, we'll kick this off with you. What first of all, your initial impressions of Pyng, and where do you think they're going to go with this?
I think it's a long time coming, especially from that center point. Steve Greenblatt did the article, and he's been talking a lot about it, in the essence that end users wanted to be able to configure stuff on their own and didn't want that cost of bringing someone in to just do that, right?
Yeah.
It's the biggest complaint you hear from guys going, how much to just change the buttons? So that part of it, I think they're really good. They're following the footsteps of what Control 4 was doing for a while, having that little user screen. Control 4 actually had a little program that they allowed end users to download to change certain things. I think it's inevitable. We can browbeat and we can gnash teeth all about programming being needed and this really shouldn't be happening. Certain circles are saying it, but it's inevitable. You get to the point where those programming tools are so reliable and useful that you can do a quality, reliable system just by doing that. What does it mean? I still think many installations will need more in-depth, bigger programs. But for your standard, just under $1 million stuff, I think you're going to really fly with this.
Holy wow! That surprises that high of a ceiling.
Well, you've seen what I've seen from the gear so far. I think you're heading towards that.
Okay.
I mean, why would it not? That's my question.
Well, you raise a good point. I mean, it does do a lot of things. I mean, it according to the demo they did, they had a video plus they had the actual product there. George is right. They do interface with an awful lot of things, just everything from shading to lighting to obviously your AV system. So, Mr. Neto, where do you see Pyng landing here?
Right now, I think it's targeted more for the residential side of the business, but I could see a home sometime later in the future, a little bit more horsepower, and it could definitely make its way into a small huddle space. I mean, I've been screaming for it for some time now. We need small devices. If you add some control to it and stuff like that, yeah, it'll be the control, the ability to add what we do in the commercial side, meaning you add the matrix, you have the simple on-off control buttons. It'd be nice. There you go, Tim.
What if you don't? Here's the thing. What if you don't add the matrix? Right. I mean, there is a system I'm doing now. It's good Lord, I have 300 hours of programming in this thing, and don't. It's not that it's not that big. There's just a lot of rooms, right? And I've got 6 rooms in this system that's being ran by an MC3, which is a Crestron smaller processor, and they're using the display as the switcher, right? They've only got 2 sources in this room. Is that something that maybe the Pyng could take over someday, or these smaller huddle spaces where they're using the display as the switcher, or maybe kind of beef it up a little bit more and take care of some basic conference rooms or some basic boardrooms where, maybe you do have a simple switcher or a simple, maybe a simple DM switcher like a 4x1 or something like that.
Yeah, especially in the smaller huddle spaces where, you're starting to see now more web-based applications and for video conferencing. So if it's driven by your PC, that's an input to the TV. Yeah, I guess the TV could do it. Is it as clean or as nice as what we're used to doing? Probably not. Will there be some bumps in the road? Yeah, but if we can take that, add some control to it, yeah, it may work. I mean, these little spaces, these huddle spaces, are pretty much revolving around 3 types of technology that go in there.
Okay.
At least in my space, they're looking at wireless technology, wireless display technology. They don't want to see the wires on the table because it's a small table, it's a small space to begin with. So they want to get rid of the wires on the table. They want to present from a laptop, and they want to interact either with traditional video conferencing or with Link. So you're looking at a TV with 3 inputs, essentially. Could you do it? Yeah. I haven't played with it yet to say where it is, where the future lies.
Yeah, and it's not. You're right. To your point, it's not as pretty, it's not as clean, but it's also, depending on the switcher you put in, $1,000, $2,000 cheaper per room, and when you slap in 10 of these rooms per installation, that adds up pretty quickly. So.
Well, you as a former tech manager would know that would appeal right away
Absolutely.
to the educational market.
Yeah, the last good Lord 3 or 4 years I was a tech manager, I had a design where we ran everything. The projector was our switcher as well as our audio router as well, and then we dumped it out and fed it into an amplifier. And not to bore you guys with my stupid designs. So, Mr. Brown, where do you see Pyng landing? And if is it just a residential thing, or do you see it maybe kind of crawling out into other things?
Well, when I read this, it seemed like, I know it's taking a while to come out and to launch and everything, but I really think that if they would have done a little more focus grouping or something in other markets, you could probably get a lot more use out of this. There's a lot of different verticals that can customize their way of using this control in different settings, and so this could be a lot more versatile than I think how it's presented right now. Just like you said in the beginning, you think it could really kind of transform the K through 12, K through 12 market, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. That can do it if we really look and try to find a way to make control simple or easy or are more manageable or done a different way. I think they're ahead of themselves, but they kind of missed the mark in some sense in kind of doing this. So I'm kind of mixed on this.
Yeah. The one thing I'm going to be interested to see is the first time somebody tries to crack it and modify it. I'll be.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Pepper Dash or somebody like that's probably going to do it. So either that or our buddy at One Firefly is going to crack that thing open and put a nice One Firefly splash page all over the front of it. So.
You know what's interesting about this though is this technology they're using, and I'm not sure it's built on it, but 4, 5, 6 years ago, mm-hmm. there was a company out there that was doing stuff like this. They developed a program for their company, for their guys, mm-hmm. and that's what they did. It was all preset, and they went in and just did little programming switches to make the thing custom to what the environment was. It was commercial,
yeah,
but they were looking at residential, but that's the reliability of it again. They were doing this back in the 2 Series with stuff, and it was all big code, but I'm sure what Crestron has done is condensed it. And I wouldn't be surprised to see AMX getting into it, Control 4 pumping up that a little bit more, maybe even Savant and RTI.
It reminded me, I had never seen a good demonstration of Control 4's interface like this, and I got a chance to do it. There's a video of it on our YouTube page from Zedia. It reminded me a lot. It's the Control 4 one reminded me a lot of the Pyng setup interface, at least, not obviously the touch interface or the customer experience user interface. So, all right,
Tim,
yes, sir.
Before you end that, my question to you and to the group is. By the looks of the product, the size, it's definitely doesn't fit the Crestron, standard square box and stuff like that. Do you think that they're positioning this to one day be sold at the big box store, to go against the solutions that I walked into the other day at the big box store, and there is now rows of smart home connected products?
I'll take it first, and then if anybody else wants to jump in, I don't see that. The one caveat I'll put is if they're ever sold, right, and that's a big if, and I have no knowledge, there's no rumors that I know of. If they're ever sold to a public company, one that it has to answer to shareholders and things of that nature, I absolutely see it, right? It's a good way to make investors feel all warm and fuzzy because they're expanding their reach and they're expanding the market. But as Crestron sits right here right now, I don't see them doing that, because I think that you're going to take off a lot of a lot of dealers and a lot of significant dealers if you start going down that road.
Yeah, because you know that they're one blister pack away from putting that on a hanger, and selling it right next door to everything else that's selling themselves. It sells itself as a home product. If now this thing is an app base, once you start talking app-based solutions or app-based programming, you're sort of going down that path of, anybody can do it. And when anybody can do it, why not put it out in a place like that? Yeah, the list price on that, I think, is $5.99 for those. What's the MSRP on it? $5.99. It still may be a bit pricey for the DIYers who are usually looking in that, $200 to $300 range. I would say, or $100 to $300 range, but it has all the prettiness to end up on a shelf like that. But I agree with you. It's definitely, Crestron will control that, and there is no rumors. There is none of that being spoken to. But the design of it, everything to me looks like something that would end up on.
Here's the only other thing with that, and the list price I believe is like $5.99. It requires other things, right? It requires Crestron lighting. It requires not necessarily Crestron, but it requires smart lighting. It requires smart shades. The demo they were showing us, somebody's house had, I believe it was a Schlage lock, with the wireless lock, the Internet of Things lock. So it requires other things than just that one box. That's why I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. In addition to the fact that it, tick off a lot of dealers.
Well, I got a better idea. Get one.
I think in some cases,
toss it to the DIY guys and see what they can do. The DIY guys that are on the show, guys like Anthony and Tim and Gray, and let them play, see what they can do.
Go ahead, Bill.
No, I think it would be something that they would look to put on a shelf as a short-sighted property, to do it, and would do, like you said, Tim, to basically just upset a lot more people and create more of a market share, and it just will defeat the whole purpose. But I think Crestron has those tendencies to kind of say, oh, I'm going to take this one step further, to kind of put our brand out there and then finish that brand.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. George, did you have something?
Well, I mean, I think I was going to say that I'm agreeing with everybody here. They are but a step or a heartbeat away from being able to do this commercially. The trouble comes down when you install some of the very high-tech gear that really cannot be installed by the consumer as of yet, DM, for one. Maybe some structured wiring can be done by the homeowner, but I think you would more likely see Crestron inside of certain gears than you will see Crestron on the shelves. I think they're very wise for keeping that luxury brand, even if it is a starter pack luxury brand, on the in the world, than having it on the shelf. I think they would dilute the quality of it, even if they were to be bought by a company and shareholders. That's how you would merge it out.
Yeah, and they were already.
And they could come up with a 4-chime logo.
Well, bing, bing, bing. 1, 2, that was only 3. And then they're actually starting down that path, right? They've got a number of both. Good Lord, it's Friday and my brain's gone. 3 LCD as well as DLP projectors that are already starting down that path, right? Yeah. They're on the HD Base T council as well as on the AVB council, so they're talking to a lot of other manufacturers that can accept their signals. So, all right. Speaking of displays, one of our favorite things to talk about, at least over the last year or so, has been 4K. And good Lord, yeah. I know it's a Vizio. Don't anybody yell at me. But from Tech Times, a 50-inch 4K for less than $1,000. Well, it's $1,000. Let's call it what it is. $999.99. So $1,000 50-inch 4K display. Mr. Tucker, are you in on this, or are you just, you know what, it's too soon, or it's a Vizio or whatever? Are we getting there? I mean, somebody said, I think it was Justin last week said, you know, the reason that they're pushing 4K is because, you know, it's cheap for Sony to make. Is that what we're seeing here?
Well, I think that's a big part of it. Absolutely, it's cheap to make now. The parts are there; they're ubiquitous, as it were. My question, not having seen it, it is what it is. It's made by the company that makes what it makes. I would have two questions as to how clear is it really? Is it really 4K? Can it adapt to, you know, the UHD versus 4K? And how long will it last? You know, $1,000 sounds cheap in that world. Expensive to some, as the article says, cheap. But if it only lasts for 2 years, it's not really worth the money. You know, and my bigger question to get to see it, does it have off-air capability? Because that's what I really want. If you're a cable cutter and you want that 4K, that might be worth it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you know, the other thing is for, you know, cable cutters and for some internet streamers, you know, 4K still is not quite there yet. So, Bill, what do you think when it comes to $1,000 4K, even if it's from Vizio?
My first thing was, this is not real. You know, am I being punked or, you know, or something? It is. I mean, the still. You know, I've talked to a couple of my clients and potential clients about 4K, and I was like, well, it's not there yet. Don't worry about it. And then when I saw that, I was like, how can they be doing 4K already?
Yeah.
So it was just, is it like almost 4K? Is it like, you know, 3.98? I just don't know right now. Really trying to, I guess, introduce 4K and embrace 4K to have Vizio be out at this price.
Yeah, but it's Vizio, right? And Vizio is one of the biggest manufacturers or biggest sellers at Walmart. Which you start getting into Walmart, you start selling, you know, sub $1,000 displays there. There's a good chance that they're going to get, you know, the market saturation on them is going to rise very, very quickly. Mr. Neto, what do you say about $1,000 4K?
I think that this is Vizio doing their part to put the 4K word out to the everyday folk. Is it real? Yes. I'm sure that there is what they call their version of 4K. If it's not true 4K, it's close to it. Maybe it's not going to have the quality that we're expecting and that we're seeing on commercial displays. But what Vizio has done over the past few years is this is their MO. They will take what everybody else, I guess, is driving. They had, you know, 60-inch, 80-inch TVs doing 1080p while everybody else was selling, you know, the 1080p 60-inch TVs for thousands of dollars. They cut the price, and it became part of what a customer would walk into the big stores and ask for.
Yeah.
You know, it's awareness, at least the 4K. So to anybody who is, you know, on the commercial side, yeah, you're not going to play with it, but your customers are now going to come in and say, well, I have a 4K TV and I paid $1,000 for it. Now, as much as we've argued that point before, you know, it's coming from the consumer side.
Yeah.
They're at least getting some sort of education to come in and ask for it. It's not just so much a blind, oh, I saw the Sony 4K ad during the World Cup. You know, what is it? And then when they spring it on them, oh, yeah, you want that TV, that's a $4,000 or $5,000 TV. Then they're taken back, well, I'm not ready for 4K. Now all of a sudden they are ready at $1,000. So now there's going to be talk about it, and there's going to. I've always been the guy who's always said, you know what, this is going to drive me nuts on the commercial side because they have it at home, they're going to want to bring it to here. Yeah. How do I justify a better monitor or a commercial grade monitor when there's $1,000 4K TVs being sold? The fact is that at least they're coming in with a little bit of knowledge, regardless that it's maybe a 15-year-old or 16-year-old kid at at one of these stores trying to give them the knowledge, at least they understand the difference, or at least get the basis of why 4K over 1080p, or why that over some other, crazy brand.
Can I ask a question, George? George, I'll kick it off with you because you mentioned the longevity and the quality of not the quality, but how long it can last. I was talking to a client this week, and I work for a company. We're design consulting, and also we do independent programming. And I was talking to an integrator client, and he was showing me their showroom and pointing out a TV, a display that they've started using. It's a consumer brand. It's a consumer grade display. And his comment was this. He said, this display, it was an 80-inch. It was for a VTC system. This display, the commercial version of it is 3 times the cost of this consumer version. And even if it lasts half as long, it's still a win, right? Because then you're only replacing it twice as opposed to 3 times. Is that a valid argument, George, for not even going down the professional grade line because they are more expensive?
I think that really is a management of expectations. What is it you want, and what are you looking for? And we've made this argument long and hard about how sometimes the AV industry does get caught in its own trap of disposability.
Yeah.
That it's only good for so long, and who cares? It's cheap. Let's just throw it away. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, in ways that's kind of hard. I mean, I wrote an article for Commercial Integrator about legacy gear and how we tend to throw it away too early. Look, I still have a Sony Wega. It's 15, 25 years old now, I think. I refuse to get rid of it until it breaks down. I got flat panels everywhere else in the house, but that one's still kicking, and that's going to be used.
Yeah.
But it really does come down to what do you want to do with it, and what does the professional commercial version offer you? If it's 3 times the money for stuff that you probably aren't going to use, then it might actually be a truism. And we all know this. We've talked about this when we first started this program. A lot of what we talked about was you can't hang and bang anymore. You're not going to make money. Flat panel sales are in the realm of the consumer. It's done. This is further proof of that. Unless you need a specific purpose or there's some kind of feature that makes it very attractive, it is a disposable item to many people.
Yeah, and the one thing that took me by surprise was the fact that this consumer grade had 232 port on it, right? Mm-hmm. That's something you used to only find in commercial grade, and now like he said, he
careful with that 232 port.
Hey, that 232 port's important.
Until you dig into it and realize it's not 232 the way you know it, but it's some weird thing that they do.
No, most of the time it's pretty straightforward. The only time I've ever ran into an issue was when Sanyo used to make displays. They would get funky every once in a while. I don't know if they were using somebody else's chipsets or what, but those commands were sometimes funky.
You know what the real problem with the 232 of the last 10 years has been? The California and the energy savings.
Oh yes.
And what happens is to qualify, they turn off the 232.
Yep.
You can turn it off remotely, but you can't turn it on remotely.
Nope. And
it often would just die on you, and you wouldn't figure it out why. And trust me, hours of tech support until Fun finally figured that out, that they went, oh, and let it be known that they won't admit it ever, but to all of us commercial and residential professionals, there's always a firmware that subverts that. Always. You have to plead and beg and piss vinegar enough.
All right. I didn't realize that when I just said screw it. You can just go standby mode instead of fully turning it off. So.
Well, it helps them meet the California code, especially. That little millivolts pushes it over the edge of whatever rating they need to be able to sell it or qualify it.
Darn hippies. Sorry.
Damn hippies.
Damn hippies. Bill, what do you think when it comes to commercial versus consumer grade displays? Is it worth the premium we pay for professional grade?
I think it is a poor job of letting the end users know that it is. When we really kind of mix and match, devices, and systems and displays, and say, oh, I'll do whatever I can to keep you in your budget, type of thing, we miss the opportunity to really explain what Pro AV is, the level that it needs to be, and compared to consumer grade. And so, because we haven't done a good level of way of explaining that or making sure the end user doesn't get it. They really don't understand. They just think that we're tech guys. We all
right, Bill has gone bye-bye.
Bill has left the building.
Bill has left the building.
He dropped the mic and walked down.
You know what? I should never again make fun of Chris Neto's internet connection. I'm just,
He did say that he was having trouble, that Time Warner or whoever their provider.
See, I wasn't going to mention the provider.
Hey, call them out where it's relevant.
Especially when it's Time Warner and they have more money than God, So, all right, let's move on. I'm sure it was a very, very good, valid point that Bill was going to make, and if he gets back on, we'll let him continue.
A cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's it. It's a Bill hanger. All right. You know what? I'm feeling giddy this afternoon, so screw it. Excuse you there, Mr. Neto. All right. Not that any of us really deals directly with ADT, but here's where I'm going with this, and follow me if you will, please. ADT and Tyco Integrated Security had basically it was a non-compete, right? It was an agreement that they would kind of work together, and that has expired. So now ADT is apparently headed towards the commercial market. Dun dun dun. For those of you in security, hang on to your hats, and let's find some creative ways to make some money. The other part of this is this. There are more and more commercial security companies that are getting into, getting into control and providing different levels of control and automation and stuff like that. Chris, is this something that we need to keep an eye on and watch ADT as they navigate the commercial waters and see if they start doing automation, or is this just they're going to get into security and that's pretty much it?
Deja vu all over again. It seems like every 3 months there's a story about some company getting into one of these big companies, whether it's AT&T, whether it's ADT, whether it's Tyco. This is not the first, not going to be the last. I think that they want to do the smart home in a very broad spec. They want to do your security. They want you to be able to turn on a light on and off while you're away from the house to give you that, type of control. Maybe they monitor that your garage door is open or closed. They are not going to program settings into your home theater system or your TV that says that when I put in a DVD, turn it to 5.1 or 7.1 stereo. I don't think they're going to get into that point. I think it's more of a general big envelope around your house so that somebody has it on their iPhone. It's a service that they offer. I don't know. I've been waiting to hear more details and see or hear from people that have had the smart home thing done. None of these companies are going into the depth that we see, the residential companies go into. I mean, I'm sure Rich Fregosa can tell you, the crazy things that he has to program, from coffee makers to probably a Roomba for all. Yeah. They're not going to go there. So I look at it as, okay, fine. They are not going to be true smart home things. They're not going to go into your kitchen. They're not going to wire your refrigerator to your router and send you messages that you're out of milk. I mean, I don't know, man. It's great. You tell me that my lights are on. You turn them on, you shut them off at 9. That's pretty much what I see it as.
All right, George.
No sell here.
No. George, should we be worried about, or should integrators be worried about, ADT moving into a more commercial space?
The phrase that keeps going through my head is not yet.
Okay.
Yet.
I
think they have a built-in clientele. They have a built-in infrastructure and telecommunications network that could do very well for it. It's why my security company can control my lights if I wanted them to. It's for an emergency, but it's not that far of an extension to have keypads. What's the one thing we've seen security companies have a real big problem with when we as integrators come in with our automation systems and our pretty little touch panels?
They're jerks.
Keypad sales are gone.
Yeah.
That might be true, and some are and some aren't. Let's be fair. But what they're most angry about generally, and why they get sometimes petty and go, see, I told you it was their control system when something goes wrong, is because they've lost their keypad sales. They come in, they're told to get, the installation of the main keypad, the one upstairs, we integrate everything else. That's a lot of money they're losing with the overhead that they sell those things at. We all know what keypads cost, even ones that are specifically proprietarily designed. They're not that much money, and they're charging 5-10 times what they need to. It's their markup. And when you lose that, you get angry. So I think there's a way for them to say, hey, we're publicly held, most of them. As you mentioned earlier, what would you have to do to make publicly held companies and your investors happy? Expansion, 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 growth potential, growth potential. Short term it works, long term it may not or may, but you just should have keep that bubble floating. And I think that's really what they're looking at. And I think, yes, eventually they'll have some impact. Whether that means they team up with Nest inside or Intel inside or AMX inside.
Yeah.
They'll be there, and they're going to be a major player eventually.
That'll be something interesting. One of the things that came out of CDO was the phrase, quote unquote, works with Nest. George kind of made allude to it, but that's Nest's version of Intel Inside is works with Nest, and that means that the company plays well with it. Crestron was one of the companies that did get that, but I looked to ADT and other companies like it that are already getting into the homes, and this is not far-fetched. There are other security companies that have gone down the smart home / home automation road before, and they're getting into this, that, and the other. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up talking one more thing about displays. But this is something that's kind of neat. It's an indoor-outdoor display. It's an outdoor display. Let me say that first, right? Spexiora is an outdoor display, but they're being spec'd inside. It's a story by our buddy Jason Knott over at CE Pro. It came out of CEDIA. A couple of the reasons why really, really fascinating. One is the fact that it has it's got glare resistance. It also has heat resistance. So people are putting these over fireplaces. We can have an entire show where we have nothing but people yakking back and forth about whether or not it's proper to put a display in over a fireplace. It is not. Period. Matter of fact, George, that should be a crosstalk. Where can you cannot put a display? Over a fireplace is one of them. As long as you're going to use it. If you're never, ever, ever going to use the fireplace, then sure, knock yourself out. But if you're ever going to put fire in that thing, no. Sorry. But George, where I mean, this is an interesting thing. Where else can you see, applications for kind of an outside, a display that's spec'd for outside and created and made for outside, being placed someplace else inside?
Well, I think this goes back to our conversation about commercial versus consumer. Here, in this case, it really does work for what the interior designers wanted. Now, we can have the whole argument about fireplace, let alone the heat. It's the whole, why do I feel like I have to look up to watch my TV, which is just ridiculous when most people are doing this nowadays. Yeah. To look at their tablet. It just seems anathema to that. I said that wrong, but I couldn't get the word out. But it does provide very bright and very good contrast, even in real bright sunlight. It provides some imperviance to weather and dust and little bugs, it says in the article. These are probably good things, especially if it's over a fireplace where that's the one entrance where a lot of the creatures may or may not get in. But I think especially the high contrast, high brightness, even in bright sunlight, makes it really, really good thing for that living room with the fireplace that's right adjacent to bay windows or to a green room or to a greenhouse of some sort. It really does find a niche right there. And I'm sure it's durable as all get out. It'll probably last X times longer than your standard consumer mountable flat panel.
Yeah.
So I could see that being something really, really cool that they just extend with.
All right, Mr. Neto, where else do you see this going besides, the great outdoors where it's impervious to heat and rain and all sorts of things? You're muted there, brother.
Oh,
Wow, I just did a flub.
It's not the first time that we've had a flub.
This
It's not the last
is
time.
live, just in case you didn't wonder.
And I tell my my customers all the time, make sure you're unmuted,
Yes.
or use the mute button. Well, I forgot to do. What did I just do there? All right. So back to what George was saying. Yes, as houses are being built, new construction, especially more modern houses, everybody's looking for open space, wide, open great rooms and stuff like that. You have all the light, everything coming in. Awesome. You paid $3,000 for this TV. You can't watch it. Now you got to drop another $2,000 on window shades, or maybe you have to tint your windows, or maybe where you intended to put that TV is not an optimal place to watch it.
Yeah.
So maybe something like this will solve that. On the commercial side, I could tell you, and I've shown you pictures, Tim, of conference rooms that are in complete glass buildings in a complete glass room. Floor, not the floors being glass. That would be
weird.
No.
There's an HR person that just their head exploded.
There are so many things wrong with a glass floor there that it would be not right. But there's glass. I have a room that's glass ceiling and 4 walls of glass. You're in a fish cube. Mm-hmm. And part of that is because the building itself is all glass, and there are solar panels on the top on the roof to harness the sun. So the solar panels get the sun, and it still allows light to filter into the space. Well, glare comes from every angle in these rooms, depending on what time of day it is. A display like this would obviously be a very, very good choice for something like that, because there's just no right or wrong way to do it. There is no shades. They went with electrostatic glass, which at certain times of the day, it looks like you're standing inside a big fluorescent tube, with the light blowing you out from the front or blowing you out from the back. So I can see this having an application there. Another place that I could see this, though I did it, I have a flat screen in my garage. You're in the garage, you're doing stuff, you want to see something on your computer, if you're working on a project or a car or something, instead of looking at my tablet, I put it up on a screen. Now, I have a commercial monitor in there that I was able to put in there. It's an older monitor, but it does the trick. Kind of weird if you want to put LCD in there because of the temperature fluctuations and all that. If you have a heated garage, not a problem, but if you put this stuff in a workshop where the temperatures can get really cold, you may want a more durable thing. So, that'd be kind of cool to put in an outdoor space or in a cabana.
In a cabana. Well, we don't have cabanas here.
Cabana.
I don't
Stop
have
it.
cabanas either. Don't get me wrong.
No, you live in South Jersey. I thought all you guys had cabanas.
Well, yeah, that's the tropics of New Jersey.
Oh, as opposed to the swamps, which is where George is today.
Yeah, I am. That is exactly where I am. Yes.
The Secaucus. Is it Secaucus?
Secaucus.
All right.
It's not the armpit of the world, but it's damn close.
It's close. You can see it from there. All right, Bill, you'll have the last word on this. Indoor or outdoor displays, indoors. What are some of the uses here?
I think with the new designs that are happening in residential and commercial spaces, really giving other options for inside displays will really, leverage displays more, because you walk into a lot of green buildings that are wide open, but want projection, that you're fighting with that look, and you're fighting with that display, and they want to do all those other things. And so the more that we look at how how the spaces that we work in and that we live in are changing, I think this indoor-outdoor type of displays is the right way to go, or at least look at it, at least more than this definitely has to be indoor or this definitely has to be outdoor. I have to fight with people about putting displays over their fireplace, but every advertisement that they see, that's where it is. So they just want to match that. So I think with the new designs that are out there, this makes sense.
Hey, Tim.
I want to know who makes the decision to put those TVs there. I happened to stumble across an HGTV show. It was something with the brothers. Forgive me for not knowing it, but they really tried hard to tell the homeowners not to do it, yet they still did it. And every design magazine you see has them there. This is the crosstalk. I really just don't get it. I still don't get who's making the decision to put it there.
George, designers don't like tech, man. That's
Yeah.
Then why would you put it on the mantelpiece where other artistic things belong?
That's
Because
their
you can put
version of roasting us, man. They want to put it in the fire.
So
And churn
it's
it.
subversive. It's no. Here's what it is. It is the you put like famous pieces of art there, like on a loop, and then they can call it decor, and then charge 15 times what it cost. I don't know. I got nothing. All right. One less.
This TV, by the
Somebody
way,
ought to make a law.
is this TV marine grade?
Oh, jeez.
The only reason I'm saying this is because if you're one of the tough places to put TVs
Yes.
is at places that have like bars or houses that are at the shore.
Or yachts.
Yeah.
Yachts. Not that we know anything about that, but
Well,
yeah,
no,
I would assume.
Well, I'm somewhat making fun,
Really good idea.
but one of the programming classes, I think my last programming class for certification, I was in class with a guy, and that was their business. They did nothing but yachts. It was he showed me some of the installations. It's like, holy crap, are you kidding? And some of the things I didn't realize were the weights, right? The weight of certain products, and so. Chris, to your point, I don't think it would be necessarily marine rated because the weight on these things is so much when you compare it to a regular or an indoor rated display.
You went to the weight side. I'm thinking from a saltwater, salt mist, destroying and corroding.
I will almost bet you from talking to this guy, what I learned was that the weight is more important than making sure, because they're putting switchers in and they're putting, control systems in. None of this stuff is rated for salt water, right? It's inside the cabin, this, that, and the other. But they have to, like, let's say that they wanted to do, an Innova or whatever, the all-in-one system, right? Well, instead of doing that, they're going to buy, an MC3 or RMC3, smaller processor because of the weight, right? So yeah, that apparently is a bigger concern. So,
well, there's a place for the paint inside of yachts.
Yeah, there you go. All right, shut up. All right, one last thing, and this is, you know what? This is something I should say I almost said I'm awfully proud of. I had very little to do with this. I just think it was cool. There it is. The dawn is. Can you guys see that? Right. The dawn of the Red Band Collective. About a month or so ago, Mr. Neto and the Red Band guys said, you know what? Let's kind of fold what we're doing right now and take a break. And they have been reborn on the AVNation site. So, Chris, give us kind of an overview of what you guys are thinking and what you guys are doing.
Well, we have always, as a group, been independent. We've not had any advertisers. We've not done any of that sort of stuff. That's all well and good. I've been paying for the site. I open up, I subscribe, whatever that is, to get my website up and running every year and hold the domain and stuff like that. For writing pieces, people submitting it in, it worked fine. But then things started to change. Not so much, it wasn't so much a change in technology. It was sort of like a change in what was going on within the group. When we start getting asked to come out to these shows, I mean, we've worked with you guys before at Infocom, and we were there, so it sort of worked. Now we're being asked to go to shows and to do coverage on shows, and you were in the same boat. Yeah. How do we do this? It sort of became, we're being asked to be more than just writers now. We're now being asked to do on-spot type stuff, a $10 show, take a look at it, review it, and we're pulling, we're trying. We're not big. So that was part of the idea behind it. The other part to that was we reached a limit. We were at a point where everybody was doing their own thing, and we were getting red band material. We were still putting it out, and we wanted to do more of a blanket type thing. So we had some opportunities to go a couple different directions, but ultimately, I sat and talked with you about it. You guys did not have a blog component. We had the blog piece. We would like to do more in the interactive stuff with the podcasts and stuff like that. You have that. It sort of became a natural fit. The good thing is that we also got along.
Yeah.
it sort of made sense. We already
Nobody likes you, George. That just goes with the territory.
Yeah, we already shared, a crossover members in George and Matt Scott, who wrote for me in the past before. So, did they have some influence on it? I came right to you. I didn't go to George. Maybe I should have asked George since he was on the same team, but you sort of forget.
Hindsight is 20/20 there.
Red Band,
so 20/20 vision now, buddy.
Yeah.
Now, see?
So now it's all clean.
He gave you a better deal, trust me.
Oh,
yeah, we got a great deal. I got a 6-pack and a peep out of the deal. But everybody else that came with me is...
Wait a minute, what beer?
What?
See, that's...
Oh, that's...
Yeah. I am in St. Louis.
Blue ribbon again.
I am in St. Louis. I'll just point that out.
Actually, it's a Mickey's and maybe a 40 St. Nides and
holy cow!
But no, actually,
works every time.
Where's Billy D and the King Cobra ads when you need
jeez.
him? So yeah, it sort of became a natural thing. Everybody, I did not make the decision on my own. I called all the guys personally and guys and girls and talked to them and said, listen, this is what's being brought to us, and I have this opportunity with AVNation, or what do you think? And everybody came back with a resounding, well, it makes sense. We already work together. It's not going to be putting a square peg into a round hole. Let's go with it. It'll give us a big reach. If the whole purpose behind Red Band was to give people a place to speak and have their voices heard, I essentially just tripled that overnight by joining up with AVNation. So for these people that write for me, yeah, it's great. They now have a bigger audience. It was never about it was obviously not about the money.
Yeah.
It was sort of about let's take this and let's work on something bigger and move it to the next step. Because I think what happened was Red Band got to the point where we were just going to be posting blogs and posting content, and at shows that we were all just happened to be at, we'd hang out and do some fun stuff. That fun stuff can only go so far. We're now going to take it to another level, and unfortunately now you got to put up with us.
Oh, well, it's a good problem to have. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it. I think it'll be a good thing, right? I think it'll lend a lot to the voice, the chorus that's already here. The one thing I mentioned this last week, and Shrako kind of busted my chops on it. One of the coolest things about AVNation is that this is not just about one person or two people. And I point out the crosstalk that I mentioned earlier with George. I had nothing to do with that, right? George and Chris and Josh and Mark Coxon and Brock McGinnis and all these guys got together, and I was actually traveling to Little Rock, Arkansas when they did it. So, it was one of those neat things, and this just kind of adds more soldiers to the army. So it was very, very, very happy about this. So welcome, sir. All right, guys. Apparently, Time Warner has completely pulled the internet in North Carolina because Mr. Brown is gone. But thank you, Mr. B.D. Brown, Bill Brown from B.D. Brown Communications. You can check him out on the web as well as on Twitter. Chris, where can people find you, sir?
You can find me at avnation.tv now.
That is crazy.
And you can find me on Twitter. And you can find me on Twitter at Chris_Neto, at Chris_Neto. I'm there. I'm doing a lot of different things. Before, if I get 2 seconds,
yeah, we
got a contest coming up.
Yes, we do.
And it'll be out Monday. It's not we. It's
we ain't
Kramer
doing
Electronics.
it. Yeah. Say that again. It's
we
Kramer.
Ain't doing it. It's Kramer Electronics. They have asked myself, Bill O'Donnell, and Tim to be judges on some extraordinarily wild videos that they're looking for from their customers. So we're going to be able to, we're going to be reviewing some videos that are sent in from their customers on an application of their product, which is the KW11, which is a wireless HDMI transmitter. This came out of a conversation I had with them while I was at their training this past week. Not this week, last week.
Last week, yeah.
They said, you know what, you guys have done videos, you guys know what's funny, what's good, what's bad, whatever. Would you like to judge? And myself, Bill O'Donnell was there, and I said, absolutely. And they said, well, bring Tim along as well. We'll feature you guys in as judges, and you guys make the decision as far as what the users are submitting. So we're looking forward to that. That concert, oh my God. That contest starts on Monday. The details will be out there. I'm sure we'll probably have something published on that as well on AVNation. And I'm looking forward to see. I love user videos. I can spend hours on YouTube watching, things fall on people's heads. So I'm hoping to see some good tech applications.
All right. Well, go take some cold medicine, dude.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Tucker, I can't say enough nice things about you, so just tell people where to find you and find all your.
You're the only one.
Well, me and your ex-wife. So.
Yeah. No, they don't say anything nice about me. I am, of course, AVNation and Commercial Integrator Tech Decisions magazine, and occasionally I pop up on other guest posts everywhere else. So go see those guys; they could really use your viewership.
Absolutely, and at Tucker2s on Twitter.
That is true.
One of the cool things that I'll say this real quick, and then I'll go to the website avnation.tv. One of the cool things that we're doing is Josh Schrago, who is a Red Bander and now part of the Red Band Collective. He and a number of folks are doing something to kind of celebrate AV month. I almost said AVWeek. AV month with Infocom International. They're going to try to post an article every day, 31 days for AV month. So check out that if you would please under the blog section of AVNation. It is so crazy to say we have a blog section. So we have a blog section. Go by the website though, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. This program and a host of others, the AV Crosstalk I just mentioned, is up there. Brand the very first episode. We will have an RSS feed and a iTunes feed. As soon as I get on the ball and make it, honestly. But it is there on the page. You can watch Mark Coxon and Josh Schrago duke it out along with Brock McGinnis being the ever so talented moderator. You can see James Bedell on the lighting show, Pico Projector Guys live, Ed Tech, which we kind of took a break in September, and I'll explain why in October. And a host of others. New State of Control is coming out too. So, AVNation.
We have a couple of new shows too. I'm sorry to interject on you there with the ending.
Oh, that's right. We do. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Anthony Zotti.
Yay!
Our friend Tony No One from the DIY show. The DIY show will have a new one this month, but we have a new show called PO. That is Power over Ethernet.
Very excited
and it means
about this.
that in all the senses you can think of it. And we're going to have another show we're working on with a very well-known, musically talented individual in the industry, which we'll announce later.
Oh, geez. I wonder who that is. The only... Nah, I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of you guys who...
Well, the narrows it down to about 75% of this industry.
Well, that's true. But there's one who is very AV music-centric. Just put it that way. So, yeah, go by the website. Check all that. Check out our YouTube page. Something that George pinged me and I forgot about. We have a video of Peerless AV's outdoor display from Cedia. So if you go by the YouTube page, you'll see that it's also on our site as well. So avnation.tv, avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. This has been AV Week.